When Sean Strickland won a UFC title, it's hard to describe the "how the hell did that happen" feeling that everyone had. You had this complete lunatic with this weird herky-jerky style that completely dismantled one of the greatest middleweight fighters of all time. How did that happen? Alex Pereira made Sean look like a fool in a fight, so how did he have success against a striker of equal greatness? Maybe there's something to this weird post-motorcycle accident style after all. Perhaps Sean Strickland has carved out his own niche style that is indeed effective against top-level opposition. When Sean Strickland first started to be recognised as a half-decent fighter, it was hard for anyone to really know what was in store for us. All of a sudden, this shaved head started showing up at the apex, landing stiff 1-2s and yelling at his opponents. His style was anything but refined, jerking his head back and flailing out his arms to deflect punches. Yet just a few years later, he would be middleweight champion of the world. His breakout performance was against Jack Marshman back in 2020. Sean had been in a motorcycle accident and hadn't fought in 2 years, was fighting upper weight class and had also shaved his head. He marches forward landing 1-2s and pulls his head back whenever Jack throws his own shots. Comparing this with some of his later performances, Sean looks very messy, almost amateurish. He retreats straight back with his chin in the air, his combination punches are messy, and he sticks out his arms to deflect blows. He does win the fight, due to his own pressure, but also admittedly, Jack not being the strongest opposition. Jack doesn't follow up when Sean retreats backwards, and gets lulled into a jab cross fight with Sean instead of going to the body, or kicking, or anything else really. What we saw was ultimately a very forgettable fight, had it not been for Sean yelling at Jack at the end. The next couple fights for Sean are really more of the same. A lot of snappy 1-2s, constant plodding forward, and a lot of jerky head movement. A notable win for Sean, however, is Brendan Allen, who at this moment is 1 or 2 fights away from a title shot. In this fight, Allen appears to have a speed advantage over Sean, and it gives him a bit of problems early on in the fight. Sean fails to pull away from an early leg kick, and gets caught repeatedly with jabs that he doesn't see coming. Sean eventually does finish Allen in the second round. Allen's defense for the patented Sean Strickland 1-2 was to cover up without any movement. This ultimately led to Sean winning the fight, as he was able to land through the guard of his stationary opponent, knocking him out in the second round. At this point in his career, I've attributed Sean's success to one main theme. He makes people fight his fight, and then beats them under his own rules. He gets his opponent trading 1-2s with him, which allows him to break other basic rules of fighting, namely regarding his messy defense. Sean had success doing this until he met Alex Pereira. I'm sure Alex needs no introduction, but just in case, he's a former Glory double champ, former UFC middle champion, current UFC light heavyweight champion, basically one of, if not the greatest striker the UFC has ever had. As you may expect, Sean was not able to goad one of the best strikers in the world into a tit-for-tat 1-2 fight with him. Alex exposed some honestly quite glaring holes in Sean's style, delivering a knockout within minutes. He does this using 3 tactics, or I should really say, exploiting 3 fatal flaws within Sean's style. Almost immediately, Alex starts throwing numerous leg kicks. Alex throws his kicks in quite an uncommon way, where he doesn't follow through with his hips. It allows him to kick quickly, and as we saw previously, Sean doesn't defend what he can't see coming. Sean plods forward as he usually does, but unlike his previous opponents, Alex circles the cage, not giving up any ground. Because Sean's plodding movement is so linear, he has to readjust every time Alex turns a corner, and he can't line up any of his punches. Thirdly, and probably most importantly, Alex attacks the body early and often, with both punches and kicks. This draws Sean's hands low to parry, leaving his chin up and preventing him from being able to jerk his head back. After feinting a body strike, Alex lands a gorgeous hook that sends Sean flying. This knockout loss really shattered the hype that Sean was riding, and after a close fight with Jared Cannonier, it looked like Sean Strickland was reserved to spending the rest of his days as a middling contender. But then he came off the couch on a couple of weeks' notice and beat Nasruddin Imavov, a win that has aged exceptionally well. He then finished Abus Magomedov, which is admittedly not that impressive, but nonetheless, he was lined up to fight Israel Adesanya, champion at the time and one of the greatest middleweights there's ever been. In this fight, Sean looks like a much more refined version of himself. Instead of reaching for body attacks, Sean blocks effectively. He does a good job of keeping Izzy on the fence and is much more disciplined with both how and when he strikes. This is easily the best version we've seen of Sean Strickland. Then the unexpected happens. As Izzy is throwing a hook, Sean steps in, throws his piston-like cross, and drops Izzy hard. It's hard to describe what a shock this was, as well as the remaining 20 minutes of the fight. Sean walks Izzy down, outstriking him, and making him look like the octagon was the last place he wanted to be. Izzy himself described the fight as like being in a nightmare. How on earth did Sean Strickland make this happen? In my opinion, there are two categories of reason to explain the fight. There are the tactical and technical ways, things you can watch with your own eyes, take notes, try out in the gym yourself. And then there are the more abstract things, mindset, luck, attitude. They're a lot harder to see with your own eyes. Starting with the former, Sean fights similar to how he usually does, with some added wrinkles that took him to the highest level he'd ever been at that point. He walks forward, sliding back out of the way whenever Izzy throws anything. He has a more refined defense, keeping one hand up to his face, while his left hand is out ready to parry. Sean blocks kicks instead of sliding out of the way each time, which can be more reliable if you don't have time to react, and is a deterrent if his opponent is repeatedly kicking his shins. In terms of his punches, he sticks with the 1-2, his most reliable combo. We've seen Sean throw teeps before, but this is the first time they're constantly used, both offensively and defensively. The teep interrupts Izzy's setting up his own combinations. Sean either teeps to keep Izzy at range, or slides it under Izzy's punches. These in particular are really going to add up over time, especially when Izzy is walking into them. This three-pronged approach of walking forward, 1-2s, and teeping increased in effectiveness as the fight wore on. Since Sean's footwork is basically him just walking, he can do this for 25 minutes easily, but Adesanya constantly needing to circle the cage evading tired him out significantly more. Izzy being tired is something we rarely ever see, but he looks absolutely exhausted in this fight. It's due to the constant evasive movement, as well as being punted in the body over and over. Sean, on the other hand, was going at the same pace throughout the entire fight, and it's due to his style. Walking forward is a lot easier than sporadic or bouncy movements, and the three main strikes he was throwing, jab, cross and teep, are relatively conservative strikes to throw. Now admittedly, I don't think this is the best version of Israel Adesanya. He reserves himself to defense even early in the fight, and really struggles to put together any decent combinations with power in them, like we know that he can do. Does this take away from Sean's performance? Maybe a little bit. I do think that a prime Adesanya, the type of guy that was knocking out Whittaker and Costa and all the rest, would have been a much tougher fight for Sean. This leads me into the more abstract reasons as to why Sean Strickland became a world champion. From a certain perspective, he became a champion because he was lucky. He faced a version of Adesanya that was not in his prime and was given a title shot at a time where the division was pretty shallow and Izzy didn't really have anyone else to fight. Adesanya is stylistically a better matchup for Sean than the likes of Pereira, Dricus du Plessis and Hamza Chimaev. So maybe it was just good luck and good timing that he became world champion. But on the other hand, Sean became a champion because of his attitude, his dedication and his resilience. In 2018, Sean was sidelined for 2 years because of a nasty motorcycle accident, one that could have easily ended his career. Prior to the accident, he was trading wins and losses at welterweight, becoming just another UFC fighter that didn't have what it takes to win the big fights. 2 years after the incident is where we saw the Sean Strickland that we recognise now for the first time, and I do believe that the fighter we saw was vastly different to who we saw before. The Sean Strickland we know now is mouthy, unapologetic, and is also a workhorse. It's pretty well known that Sean spars a lot, but I think the main thing to take away is that the guy practically lives at the gym. He puts in the hours, so much so that it doesn't matter if he's not the genetic freak, or that he's naturally a savant at fighting. The sheer amount of hours he puts in levels the playing field, even against the top talents of the world. I think that the motorcycle accident changed something in him. It made him put in the hours and work harder than he would have otherwise. When you look at the improvements he made, they're quite subtle. It's easy to say that the quantity of sparring gives him better reaction times, but I honestly think that downplays his improvements. He looks massively improved from his fight with Jack Marshman to Adesanya, And when I was watching his fights back, I saw all of these differences that I've been speaking about. So there you have it. How did Sean Strickland win a world title over an all-time great of the sport? By gradually making improvements to his distinct style, and with a little bit of good fortune and good timing. Do you agree? If not, don't hesitate to give your opinion. Sean Strickland is set to fight Fluffy Hernandez this weekend, and after all the fight footage I've just watched, I'm not sure who wins. I've never seen Sean fight someone who's going to aggressively grapple with him for 25 minutes, so I'm quite intrigued by the matchup. I can't imagine Fluffy getting into a 1-2 trading match with Sean, but I couldn't imagine Sean beating up Adesanya over 5 rounds either. Okay, so that's my video. If you watched it, thank you very much. If you've got any feedback, I'd be very happy to hear it. Yeah, thank you.